Welcome everyone back to Beat the Game. My name's Steve, and today we're going to talk about the villainous Ultron, the last villain in the core set box, and why he is so tough, and why do we keep losing against Ultron? Because, alright, so before we start, guys, if you guys like my videos, please share, like, give those little thumbs ups. And subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. You know, I put out content like this quite regularly. And that being said, let's keep going to the meat and bones of why we're here. So why do we keep losing against Ultron? So let's take a little look-see here. Well, first things first, Ultron comes at us in a different angle than Rhino. I know Rhino was just pure damage. And then Claw, well, Claw was coming at us really fast with acceleration tokens and side schemes and guards and everything. So that was a little mixer. It just then went like, wow. But what is Ultron adding to the difficulty that is not there prior is deck disruption. And that is the first reason a lot of the times we will be losing against Ultron, because we will lose a lot of the key elements in our deck. That's right. Okay, so I'm thinking, you know, if you have a character like Iron Man, you know what, and you lose your arc reactor as a drone, and you're like, oh, and then you lose your Stark Tower, oh, and I can't get it back. I'm like, ah! So Ultron just comes at you in so many ways. So finding ways to disrupt that ability that Ultron has to put drones into play is going to be a significant way to help you defeat him more consistently. Now, first of all, let's take a look at how this whole setup starts. All right, the first things first. The first thing, let's just look at the side schemes. You're like, what? Sorry, not the side schemes. The main scheme. There is actually 3 stages to the side schemes. To the main schemes. So stage 1. All right. When revealed, place the top card of your deck as a face down drone encounter card. So let's just go into this. So first things first, you shuffle your cards. Okay, you reveal, you put the setup, everything is done. Before you even draw your hand, that first card on top of your deck is a drone. So if you already drew your hand and you had like, oh man, it's such a good turn, and you forgot that, well, shuffle back, put that top card back, and then you have a fair game. All right, so that top card of your deck is always going to be a drone before you even draw and even do your mulligan. So hopefully you're not playing Captain America and it's not your shield, because most of the time, if that happens to you, you're just gonna go scoop it up and try again. Good job, Ultron. He even beat you before you even started. All right, so the next thing, all right, so that why we lose against Ultron a lot is it because of the scheme? The scheme can get out of control pretty fast. All right. Now on stage 1, there's only 3 per player. Okay. So that's 3 per player is very, very low. Okay. Now what does that mean? So 3 per player is this, like, if you're playing a 2-player game, that's only 6. So most of the time you're placing 1 threat. And then if he schemes, he already has a scheme of 1 on stage 1, or he has a scheme of 2 on stage 2 and 3. So if you're playing on standard or expert, most of the time, if he advances or if he schemes, he's gonna scheme out to the next level. So keeping Ultron on stage 1 should always be your first priority. All right, and keeping that threat under control as much as you can. Now, there's a bunch of cards in Justice, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later. But what happens if you do not keep it down? So what's going to happen? It's going to, first of all, you're going to read the card in the back. It says, put the top card of your deck as a face-down drone. Now, little side note. So if it goes up naturally, so let's say it's at 2 threat, you weren't able to mitigate the threat, it's going to go from 2 to 3, which is the first step. Then it's going to pop off, all right? And then it's going to reveal this one. And then there's going to be a force response trigger because you're still in step 1. Okay? After placing threat here during step 1 of the villain phase, you've just placed threat, it goes up. Then you're on Assault on NORAD, force response, you're still there. either place a drone or place 2 threat here. So this is why it gets super dangerous. On stage 2, you only have room for 10 threat per player, which is, if you're playing 4-player, it goes up to 40. Yeah, you do have some leeway, you do have some room. But this will go very, very fast if you are not careful. All right? So this is where most of the game is going to happen. All right? Most of the time, you won't be able to keep it on stage 1. The more turns you keep it on stage 1, the better your chances. But sometimes this flips on, this one will flip on stage 1, on turn 1, which means you're going to have an uphill battle. So this every time after placing threat during the main scheme. So always either place a drone or 2 threat. So again, that's 1/5 of what that can do. So it does give you a little bit of room. One thing I would say, if you have a character that has a lot of thwarting potential, put the threat. Don't worry about the drones. If you depending if you have drone control, if you have a character that has a lot of minion control, then maybe put the drones, and if you can't, remove threat. So depending on the character you're playing, this is where you're going to have to make the smart decisions. Do I deal with drones or do I deal with threat? All right. So again, this is going to be your main game is going to be happening on this stage. Now, if you happen to lose stage 2, all right, so this pops off, then you're going into overdrive. So again, if you lose this, what happens is you're going to place a drone. So each player is going to put a drone here, and that is a 5 per player. Now it says threat cannot be removed from this scheme. So this means that you cannot thwart this stuff away. So it's going to go up naturally 1 per turn. Little thing though, threat cannot be removed, but it can be prevented. So if there is a justice player with you and he has, let's say, the counterintelligence card, you can prevent threat. If you have She-Hulk, you can object. If you are an alter ego, you can object to the main scheme going up. So there's a lot of things that you can prevent threat, but you cannot remove it. So that's something that you needs to be clear, because you can still prevent stuff from going on and buy you a few extra turns depending on the character that you're playing. All right, but if that goes to 5, game over. Now, with the experience I've had playing against Ultron, unless I'm really, really unlucky, this is very rarely why I lose the game. Or it's going to be like, oh, this pops up on turn 2. Like he hits like a double advance, or I'm playing heroic and he's like double advance, and then it goes off right away, and like whatever. There's nothing you can do about it. Just restart the game. But most of the time, when you're going to lose to Ultron, it's going to be because of damage. It's going to be because of all the minions that are going to attack you, and that's where you're going to be. It's going to be the most problematic for you. All right, so let's look at Ultron. All right, let's look at Ultron stats. We saw the stage. We know that we want to keep it on stage 1 as long as possible, and if it goes to stage 3, well, then we just want to rush in for damage and try to kill him off as fast as possible. All right. But let's look at Ultron. What does he do? So first of all, Ultron here, his stats on stage 1, when you're playing on standard, has a scheme of 1 and an attack of 2, and then he has a force response. All right. So I'm going to give a little example about triggers here. All right. So let's say you are playing Spider-Man. Okay. And then Ultron attacks Spider-Man. So in this sense, force response is after Ultron attacks you. So, and your interrupt, all right, is going to trigger first. So you're going to trigger your spider sense, and then you're going to draw a card. Ultron is going to attack you. He's going to get a boost, and then the force response is going to happen. After he attacks you, either place 1 threat or place the top card of the deck as a drone with you. And if you do place a drone after he's attacked you, that drone will attack you as well. Okay, because first the villain attacks, then the minions attack, then it's step 2. All right, so there you go. So that is when it's happening. Now, if you go, or if you are playing on expert, or if you defeat stage 1 on standard, stage 2 will appear. And then stage 2 is a little bit different. Stage 2, Ultron has a scheme of 2, an attack of 2, and a forced interrupt. Now, this is where it's important. The forced interrupt, again, I'm going to use Spider-Man because it has a perfect example. Spider-Man's spider sense is an interrupt. So the first things first is Ultron will initiate an attack against you. Triggers. First thing is the force interrupt. You will take the top card of your deck and place it face down as a drone minion. Then your spider sense will tingle and then you will draw a card. All right? And that is just the timing stuff. All right, so let's not talk about Spider-Man anymore. He doesn't need to be there. So, and then Ultron also gets a bonus. Until the end of this attack, Ultron is going to get +1 for each drone minion engaged with you. So if you decided not to take care of the drones, and let's say you have 2 or 3 face down drones in front of you, Ultron is going to attack you. Let's say there's 3 drones. He's going to attack you for 5. Okay, you had 2 drones. He engages you. He wants to attack you. You place a drone, so now you have 3. He's going to attack you with a base of 5 plus a boost for this attack. So that can be really, really deadly, really fast. Little side note. You have, let's say, 3 drones in front of you, and you are playing in multiplayer, and your buddy has no drones in front of him. He says, okay, Ultron attacks you. You have 3 drones. You place your 4th drone. So technically, Ultron wants to have an attack of 6 against you. But your buddy says, hey, buddy, I got your back. I will defend for you. So Ultron will now be attacking him. And he has no drones in front of him. His attack against your buddy is going to be 2 plus the boost card, and that's it. So it's only going to be an attack of 2 plus something. And then your drones are going to attack you, obviously. But for that attack, Ultron is only attacking for 2 plus the boost, because it's the number of drones engaged with the player being attacked at that time. Furthermore, another little side note, because there's a lot of different things with Ultron. There's a couple of cards in Ultron's decks that have the boost effect with the little star that says pay a resource or place a drone. So if you have 4 drones in front of you, Ultron is attacking you, you put your 4th drone, so he's got an attack of 6, and you reveal that card that puts a drone or pay a resource. If you do not pay that resource, we will put that drone into play, and then that attack is going to go +1, so it's going to be an attack of 7. Okay, so again, just make sure that you keep those drones under control, and all will be fine. Now, if you are playing on Expert, this is very challenging because there's so many drones coming in. Now, if you that is why keeping him on stage 1 when you are playing on Expert is extremely important, because if you are playing it and you get to stage 2, well, him placing drones plus the scheme placing drones or threat is going to make the fight extremely difficult, because you're going to have to fight. You need a character that will be able to deal a lot of damage and deal with threat at the same time. So you'll need one. And again, every character can do a little bit of both, but sometimes it's going to be hard to prioritize. Now, let's say you are good enough to beat Ultron Stage 2. Good on standard, you won the game, awesome. But if you are playing on Expert, then you have to deal with Ultron Stage 3, which makes this game way harder. Again, very progressive. Ultron, he wants to make your life a living hell. All right, now the first thing, if you look at his stats, his attack just doubled. So he went from a scheme of 2 and an attack of 2 to a scheme of 2 and an attack of 4. Not only that, he also has a static effect, which is going to be a constant while you are fighting him on stage 3. He's got 27 health per player, and now he gets +1 at, the drones, all the drone minions. So he himself does not place any drones anymore. But each drone minion will get +1 attack and +1 hit point. Now, that is going to make them 2/2, like basically 2/2s that are going to be hitting you. So if you did not take care of those drones as the fight was going on, all of a sudden you have 3 drones in front of you. He's attacking you for 4, and then you're taking 3 attacks from drones. Most of the time, it's going to be lights out for your hero. All right, so this is something you really want to avoid, keeping too many drones into play before flipping Ultron to stage 3. Now, a good trick I like to do is, if I'm playing by myself, I like to make sure that there's no drones and I have a character ready to remove some threat. Now, I'll explain why. Because when you defeat stage 2 of Ultron, he will also reveal something called the Ultron's Imperative. And that imperative is going to use when it comes into play, it's going to make the first player put the top 2 cards into play as drone minions. So that is problematic as well, because now the drones are 2/2s. You have a side scheme that's going to give you an extra card, and Ultron can't take damage. So I try to plan it to when I want to flip Ultron, I make sure that there's no minions on the table, and I have control of the situation. So what happens then? All right, so perfect. I have my ally that can thwart for 2, gets rid of the side scheme, and then we're good. Now the best situation is when you have Ultron Stage 2, let's say at 3 or 4 health, and the Ultron Imperative comes out. So there's 2 things you can do. So let's say the Ultron Imperative comes out naturally. Okay, so it's into play. Ultron is almost dead and you're lucky. If it's the beginning of the game, then get rid of it, because taking that extra encounter card will be very, very hard. But if it's like you're like, oh, you weren't sure if you wanted to kill him or not, that is the best time. Because if you flip from stage 2 to stage 3 and Ultron's Imperative is already in play, it will not come back out. So you will not add more drones. So this is a good time. They're already in play. You took care of it. Beautiful. So this is ways to kind of make sure that you just don't lose the game. Okay? So sometimes, oh man, I can flip him not on this turn. I'll be able to flip him on next turn. All right. I'm going to deal with that extra 1 encounter card for this 1 turn, and then I'm going to flip him next turn and I'll be safe. And then I don't have to deal with Ultron's Imperative again. All right, so that is one of the things that you want to look at. All right, so again, on stage 3, he does not place drones. You want to be careful. And then you just want to make sure that you can, deal as much damage, get rid of the things. And then after that, if you have like chump blockers and stuff like that, then that makes this game a way, way easier. So that is one of the reasons Ultron is very, very hard. It's just he's adding so many elements to the board. All right, now we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to talk about the bad card. All right, so now let's talk about, when the villain attacks us. All right, what are the probabilities? What are the odds? All right, so in the standard build, there are 6 cards with a 0 boost icon. There are 5 with a 0 boost icon, but with a star effect, a negative effect. There is 7 1 boost cards, and there is 2 1 boost card with a star. All right, and then there is 7 2 boosts, and 9 if you are playing on expert, and then 3 pips or 3 boost icons, and 4 if you are playing on expert. So if you're looking at that, the stats of the +3s, it's 1 more than claw, and it's 3 more than or actually even can be 4 more. No, 3. It's actually 3 more than Rhino, and that's just the base without playing on expert. So there's a lot more ways for you to, those hard hits are going to be coming a lot faster. So again, most of the deck is between 0 and 1, so it's not that bad. So if we're calculating, that's 11 with no boosts, but with an 11, and then 1 boost, there's another 9. So that's 20 cards again that are 0 or 1, and then 9 cards, so 10 cards on standard. Again, so 2/3 of the deck, it's only a boost of 1, and then a little bit more on that if you are playing on expert. So again, most of the time, because there's so much going on, I think if it was just jam-packed with 3 pips in there, or 3 boost cards, or 3 boost icons, it would be very, very hard. It would make the game a lot harder. But don't get me wrong, a lot of these boost effects, these star effects, are very, very deadly, and we'll see that in a minute. All right, now let's look at threat level analysis. All right, what are the worst cards that you can get, or what are the easiest cards? Let's start with the easiest cards that you can get as an encounter card against Ultron. All right, so I think the easiest card that you can get against Ultron as your encounter card are the 3 android efficiencies. So I think that is just easy. Place a drone, whatever, easy peasy, not too hard. Like you get that, you're like, whew, okay, that was an easy turn. All right. If you do get those as boosts, though, this is more annoying. I hate getting these as boost cards because it says And there's one for every resource type. It says boost icon, choose to either spend a lightning resource, and that's the card I was talking about earlier, or a physical or a mental, depending on the one you get, or place a place a face down drone. So that is going to be important, that if you do get it as a boost, depending on what your hand looks like or how your character is playing, and are you playing your character, sometimes, is it better to keep the cards in my deck or minions? That's going to be up to you to decide what is going to be the most efficient play. But if you can pay the resource, avoid putting that extra drone in. Make sure that you keep the cards in your deck. I think for me is a better strategy. But if you don't want to spend the resource because you have a better turn, then obviously don't pay and put the drone in and deal with the drone. All right, so this for me is like the easiest one. In multiplayer, this gets a lot worse because you're not just placing one drone, you're multiplying that by the number of players. So that can become a little bit more dangerous in multiplayer because there's just so many drones coming in. All right, so that is the easiest card we can get. Aside from that, the other one that's pretty easy when we get it is the program transmitter. We're not like, whoa. But it is something that you want to take care of quite soon, especially if you're going to go to Alter Ego. First things first, it gives him +1 to his scheme. But not only that, it is a forced response. So after he schemes, you place 1 threat on each side scheme. So that can make those side schemes way less manageable and really, really hurt your chances of getting rid of those side schemes quickly. So again, program transmitter, to get rid of this as well, is basically spend 2 mentals and discard this card by exhausting your character. So that's really annoying because it does make you lose a turn. But this is not normally the one that I get rid of. I don't really care if he schemes that much. The threshold can go pretty high. So it's not the one I worry the most about. So it's not that bad. The other one that's not that bad, it's still super frustrating, but until you're ready to actually deal a lot of damage, if you're still working on your board presence and threat control, and you're not really dealing with damage right away, then this is not a bad card to get. This is from the Under Attacks modular set, and again, attached to the villain and it's a forced response. After the villain takes any amount of damage, give him a tough status card. So again, it's a little annoying, but it's not the worst. It's just basically, and again, to get rid of it, you have to exhaust your character and then spend 2 physical resources, which is, it makes sense. It is a vibranium armor. So that's not that bad. All right, the other one that's, it's not that bad. And these are on the verge of like 1.5 threats. All right, they're a little bit more annoying. Again, caught off guard. You're already losing a lot of stuff, a lot of value from the Ultron drones. But losing something else, sometimes it's just overwhelming and painful. It's not the worst if you are like me and play a lot of Honorary Avengers in your deck, just because it's an easy card to discard. So for me, I like that. Again, I always love to watch that art on that Thanos just going through War Machine. I think Caught Off Guard is one of my favorite arts in the whole game. Every time I look at that card, I'm like, it's so nice. It's so nice. Not that I hate War Machine just because he's, getting completely obliterated, but anyway. And then here we go. And then the last card that I think is like a 1.5 level threat. Make sure that you deal at least 1 damage to Ultron. All right, so always never keep him full strength. There is a boost icon on this. So if you do get it, let's talk about the boost first. If you do get it as a boost, he will heal 1 damage for each minion engaged with you. But I'm always sad when I see those go by. I'd much rather him reveal these, and then he heals 2 damage for each drone engaged with you. Now, if you are playing a character like Captain America that just eliminates drones, this is always going to surge. So that's why it's on. It's not an easy card, but it's not like the worst card. It's just going to get replaced with something else, which is kind of frustrating. So you kind of want to keep a drone engaged with you, but no more than 1, because then it becomes problematic if there's too many drones engaged with you. So this is one of those, oh man, danged if you do and danged if you don't. So But Repair Sequence is not the worst card to get. Just make sure you've done at least 1 damage to Ultron and have a drone in front of you, which shouldn't normally never be a problem. And then you just let him heal and whatever. So this is, for me, is the 1.5 danger. Level 2 danger cards. All right, level 2 danger, which is level 2 priority. I think the first ones is these advanced drones. There's 3 of them in the deck. They have 2 pips. They have guard. And not only that, when you defeat them, they place another minion in front of you, because another face down drone minion in front of you. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you do play on expert, and that's only for expert, Ultron 3 says each drone minion gets +1 attack and +1 hit point. So this are drone minions. It doesn't say face down drone minion. There is another card that we're going to see that only affects the face down drone minions. But if you are playing against expert Ultron and you're on stage 3, these now have 1 scheme, 2 attack, and then 5 health. So that's just important to just not forget when you're playing, because I know it happened to me a couple times. I'm like, oh, I thought it was face down drones. No, it's each drone. So these go up a little bit in danger for me. All right, but it's not super bad. It's just a minion. Minions, you can normally deal with it pretty well. One that I really don't like is the drone factory, especially when you're playing in multiplayer. In solo, it's not that bad, but it does start off with 4 threat, plus you're going to automatically at least put 1. So if there's like 3 or 4 drones in play, when that pops out, so now you're looking at like 8 threat to be removed. And then you're just like, well, I'm dealing with an acceleration token most of the time. That's why I put it as a level 2 danger. In multiplayer, it's not as bad. But in solo play, this card can be very, very crushing to get to when you see those accelerations come in. And plus, it puts another drone into it. So we kind of see the thematic of Ultron just keep placing drones. So that, for me, is a level 2 danger. If you can get rid of it, just try to get rid of it. So that's why you kind of want to keep drones under control, because those cards can really, really hurt really fast. And the next one that I really don't like is the Concussion Blasts, blasters. So again, another attachment for Ultron. So and this gives them +1 attack. That is why it's more dangerous than the other ones. The other ones, they don't, it's +1 scheme, yes. But most of the time, you're going to be in hero form because you can't really afford to go down to Alter Ego against Ultron too much. But this one, he gains Retaliate. You definitely want to get rid of that, just because unless you have these really powerful attacks like web kicks and, the Iron Man's super punch there, I forget what it's called there, aerial punch. And that are doing like 8 damage and you're only taking 1 retaliate, then you don't really care. But if you're playing leadership, then that's going to be really annoying because your allies won't be able to deal damage to Ultron without dying. So this is going to be super annoying. So again, spend those 2 resources, get rid of that when you see it. It's painful. Again, depending where you are in your stage, like if you're still at the beginning of the game, then it's not that bad because you're mostly setting up your board, just keeping the drones under control. You can block a little bit more. So it's not that bad, but it's still a card that you want to get rid of because obviously the point is to close out the game at one point. So this is going to really slow you down on that objective. Now, cards that are extremely dangerous. First of all, Assault. First things first. If you're playing on standard, he's going to either place a drone or place a threat on the main scheme. So that is dangerous. If you are playing on expert and starting on stage 2, that is also going to be very dangerous because he's going to be placing another drone on that turn. So if you already put 1, he's at a 3 attack plus a boost. If he does that again, now he starts off at a 4 attack plus a boost. So if you haven't taken care of those drones, and most likely you didn't really have a chance to do that, so that is going to be really, really dangerous here for those drones. All right, now the other one, it's not the worst, but it is very dangerous depending on how you're playing this game, is Swarm Attack. Swarm Attack is each drone is going to engage with you, is going to attack your hero. So that is very, very annoying. So you just got attack and then you take another attack, but now it's just from the drones. So if let's say you have a character with Retaliate, it's not that bad because all you're doing is putting a drone. But since most of the characters in the game don't have that retaliate ability, this is gonna be this can be problematic and can really hurt you, especially if you have 4 or 5 drones in front of you, and bang bang bang, that's an extra 4 or 5 damage that you weren't expecting, and that could be really, really detrimental to you winning the game. So those you want to be careful for. And in that same line of thought, man, gang up here crushes. I love playing Ultron with Scorpion for some reason, just because there's 2 gang ups in the deck. So if you are not taking care of those minions, that is a finisher card. That's right, Ultron's attacking you, and then all the little dudes are attacking you. He's placing another. It just kills. So gang up. Just be aware of the discard pile, as you're looking through those cards, and you'll see like where you're at, and be very careful. All right. Level 2 dangers here is going to be the advances. Why didn't I not put a level 3 for the advances? Just because there's 3 stages to the main scheme. And if you're on stage 1, well, you go to stage 2, whatever. If you're on stage 2, and if you kept threat under control, it's not a big deal. The only time where this becomes really, really stressful is if you are on stage 3, because you cannot remove any threat. So an advance on stage 3, if you're playing solo, is most likely a game over. But you can always be lucky, and he only schemes for like just the bare minimum, and you're safe. So yeah, so advanced, that's why I put it in as a level 2 threat. And the last level 2 threat, and then we'll look at those level 3 threats. Rages of Ultron. Now again, it's another attack event for Ultron. That's why it's in those level 2s. And not only that, it also punishes you in alter ego or in hero form. So in alter ego, it's another chance of him to scheme out of turn. So it's like basically having 4 advances in the deck. So that's something I want to keep track of. How many of these have I seen go by in the deck? Okay, because if I haven't seen those, I'm always wary when I flip to alter ego. But if I've seen these Rages of Ultron and the advances go by, well, I know he's not going to scheme twice in the same turn. So that normally means I'm safe. All right, so those are kind of ways to avoid losing. But when he attacks you, you have to discard cards, or when he schemes, you discard cards for the amount of threat placed or for the amount of damage dealt. Now, just to be clear, if you are blocking with an ally, he's attacking for 10. Okay, let's say he's attacking for, I'm just taking a number. And you have an ally that defends. The ally is still taking 10 damage. You still have to discard 10 cards. Now, if Ultron attacks you and you have a defense, let's say of 5, because you have an event, you're playing protection, you have a defense of 5, and he's doing 7 damage. All right, so he's doing 7, you're defending 5, so you're preventing 5. The only damage he's doing is 2 damage. All right, not 7. He's only dealing 2 damage, so you're only discarding 2 cards from your deck. All right, so that's where the difference is. If you block with an ally, you'll be discarding the entire amount. But if you're defending by yourself, you're only discarding the difference between the attack and your defense. All right, so I hope that makes sense. All right, let's look at priority 3. These are the game-ending cards most of the time if you do not take care of these. All right, so first thing first, under attack. So what this card does is, I know it doesn't seem like a bad card, but it is a crisis icon. All right, so if you can't remove threat, that's going to hurt. In solo, it's when revealed, each player chooses to either place 2 threat on this, so that goes up to 5 threat, which again is kind of hard and kind of a weird number for solo, unless you're playing Hulk, and Hulk can just suborbital leap that stuff, or deal 3 damage to your hero. So obviously 3 is a better number for the side schemes. It's more of a normal place, but that extra 2 threat, that 5, means it takes you 2 turns to remove all the threat from that, and that can just make you lose the game out of sync, because if you're not removing enough threat and that main scheme goes to a stage 3, most of the time, if you're not in the end game for your in damage or in whatever, if you're not close to flipping him to the next stage, well then it's probably game over for you on a threat loss. So this one can really easily contribute to this. So this one, be very careful of this. It happens. Get rid of it. Don't leave those side schemes out there. All right. Next one. Again, side schemes. Very, very annoying. So again, it's an extra encounter card. That's why it's a level 3 threat. That's the only reason. It says, when revealed, each player discards the top 3 cards of their deck. That effect is not that annoying, but it does, it does go through your deck. Again, what Ultron is doing in this is just kind of limiting your resources and limiting what you can do, what cards you can play. He's kind of controlling your deck at the same time. So that's super annoying. It's 3 per player, so it can go up really fast in a 4-player game. And you know that extra encounter card in a 4-player is not that bad, but in a solo play, that extra encounter card, it comes at you fast. So definitely something you want to get rid of. And then again, this is the Ultron's Imperative. That happens when you flip Ultron from stage 2 to stage 3. But if it comes into play naturally, it's 2 per player, so it's not that bad. But when revealed, the first player does add 2 drones from the top of his deck. Now, one thing, if you only have 1 card left in your deck, you are still placing that second card after you reshuffle. So don't think you're only putting 1 drone. You're placing both drones, even if you're doing, all right? So that's important. Again, the reason why it's a level 3 is just because it's an extra encounter card. Now, the game-ending cards when you don't take care of them. Upgraded drones. Oh, man. This seems like, oh, cool, it's a boost of 0. It's not a dangerous card. Do not be fooled. Ultron does place tons of drones into play. Now, getting rid of these is going to be crucial. It's 1 of each. You don't need to exhaust your hero. But each face down drone, so those Ultron guards don't get this bonus. All right, so that's one good thing. But all those face down drones do get the +1 attack and the +1 health. So that is something you want to take care of right away, especially if you're playing on expert and you end up on stage 3. Your drones right now, with one of those, become 3/3s, and then the other one is their 4/4s. Man, 4/4s, it's starting, that's like mid-boss level there. So those drones, you don't want to keep those into play. So getting rid of those is going to be crucial. And then, again, the other ones, obviously, that are level 3, super annoying. Master Plan, Under Fire, Exhaustion, and Shadows of the Past. Those are standard, that are always annoying. But the worst card, I think, in this deck is going to be Concussive Blast. This is where most people are going to lose their games. So we are so used to defending with allies that have 1 health left. And this, when you are playing this scenario, this is how you lose the game most of the time. You'll put your Mockingbird in front of it. Okay, she only has 1 health left. And then he attacks for like 5 or 6. Oh, I got 4 health left. I'm good. I'll just take the drones and then I'll recover next turn. And then you get Concussive Blast as a boost card. Bam! Deal 1 damage to each character you control. So that means if you block with an ally with 1 health, that attack now becomes undefended, which means that full attack comes on you. So whatever it is, 4 or 5, boom, done, in your face. And then the drones are going to attack you. So that can easily turn into a really big end game turn for you where you're just like, what? And if it is revealed as an encounter card, it is 1 damage to every friendly character in play. So that is even the partners, everything, everyone. That is his big board wipe damage style effect. So that for me is super, super dangerous. And that is how I lost most of my games. By not paying attention to this against Ultron, by defending with an ally that only had 1 health, thinking I'd be safe. But until you see those 2 cards go into that discard pile, always be mentally prepared that you might lose your ally. All right, so I think that's going to help you understand. Now let's look at some counter synergies. So how can we defeat Ultron? Let's give you some tricks. I didn't do this again with what's his face, Claw, but I'm gonna do it with Ultron, because Ultron is a way more difficult, I think, villain. So let's look at some of the cards that are available right now, not only in the core set, but again, if you just want to go through the core set, the best heroes I feel that have the best way to mitigate these drones are going to be Black Panther because of his retaliate, and he has a nice card. His Panther upgrade that deals 1 damage to each character engaged, each minion, and the boss and each minion engage with you. I forget, vibranium arrows. I forget what it's called there. Energy daggers. There you go. Energy daggers. That is going to be a great one. Aside from that, She-Hulk from the core set is actually really good with her ground stomp ability. For 2 resources, deal 1 damage to everything. So even if you're playing a 4-player game, she can just kill all the drones. That's only if you have the core set. And I'm thinking about who else can be really, really good in the core set against Ultron. For drone control, I think that those are the only ones. Black Cat. Black Cat for Spider-Man is pretty good, you know, but it's only 1 drone at a time. But the Hulk ally. All right, let's look at aggression. Let's look at the aggression cards that are actually really good against Ultron. So first of all, Hulk. If you build a Hulk deck against Ultron with a lot of lightning resources, that is going to be really good because you can take the chance and it deals 1 damage to everything in play. So kind of like the Concussive Blasts for Ultron, this is kind of your answer to that. So Hulk ally can be really good, but again, it's a gamble with Hulk. So you got to build your deck accordingly. Normally, I don't really recommend Hulk to activate him unless you really built a deck for that. But against Ultron, he can work. The other one is Tigra. She, I think, also comes in the core set. So she also, you know, she's a minion killer. And even if there are 2/2s, if you're playing on Expert Ultron, you can still take care of them. And she stays into play the entire game. So really, really good. The other strategy is using cards like Dropkick, which came into the Hulk pack. Kind of funny. And if you played only with physical resources, you can stun him. So having these characters that can stun Ultron is going to be your best strategy against him. So to make him avoid putting cards, putting drones into play is your best play. This is the strategy because you will get overwhelmed. If you don't do that and you just let him attack you nonstop, you're just going to have too many drones to deal with, and that's how you are going to lose the game. So in aggression, so these are kind of your top go-to cards. And let's look at protection cards. There's a bunch of them. From the core set, I don't think there's anything from the core set that could really help against that. But with some of the packs that have been presented to us, there is a nice set of cards in protection to deal with Ultron. First of all, the energy barrier, prevent the damage, deal the damage for 2, very good. Again, stunning the. So there you go. Let's put these as energy and let's put these as stunning effects. So tackles and Iron Fist are seriously your best bet, but you have to just commit to that. I'm gonna stun him, and I'm gonna keep stunning him. As long as you keep him stunned, he's not placing drones when he's attacking. And then once you get him to the second stage, then you're good, or the third stage, and then you're just like, okay, he's not placing drones anymore. All right, fine. That's good. So these 2 cards are going to be like your go-to cards in protection. Now, what's really cool is this is actually another way of attacking and eliminating as the creatures attack. So Ultron attacks you. Okay, I take the 1 damage. I'll prevent the 1 damage. Kill the drone instead. So there you go. So that drone doesn't attack you. So that's a really good one. Nova is very, very good against Ultron, especially on the stage 2. If you build that deck, if you put those energy resources, their enhanced reflexes, or if you have a Queen Carrier, well, Ultron attacks against you, bzz, make him a lightning bolt him for 2. Oh, the drones want to attack me, bzz, bzz, spend some resources. 1 to deal 2 damage, not to take damage is very, very good. Like getting rid of all the drones, especially that Ultron can't take damage if there's drones in play. So this is going to be super important for you to win the game on Expert, to make sure there's no drones. So Nova and energy barriers can really, really help. energy barriers when he's on stage 1 and stage 2, and Nova when he's on stage 3, and then just, you know, stunning him and tackling him. Well, that's good in any stage. All right, so that is for the protection cards. Now let's look at some of the justice cards that can really, really help. Now, not in any way that deals with damage, but just giving us more time. So the justice cards that are going to give us more time, obviously under surveillance. I normally recommend people running 1 under surveillance in their decks, but against Ultron, you want to put this out on turn 1. So if you can bring that main stage from 3 to 7 on turn 1, that is going to give you a heck of a lot of breathing room to be able to stay in Alter Ego if you're playing a character like Black Widow. So you can kind of set up your board. He's not placing other drones, and you can be safe. All right, so that is a good way to do this. Counterintelligence actually saves your butt here. So, oh. It's pizza night. Okay, counterintelligence can actually save your butt here in 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so counterintelligence can really save your butt here, and it can also save your butt on stage 3. So that's really on stage 1. Just like, oh, I'm going to place some threat. Nope, you're going to scheme out. Nope, I'm going to prevent 3 threat. I'm still staying on stage 1, or even stage 3. I can prevent the threat going in on there, and that is super important. Obviously, you have Daredevil that can ping for 2 and remove 2 threat, and then kind of do that 1 damage, but as far as as far as justice goes, all you can do is kind of slow down the main scheme, and that can actually help you a lot, even though it doesn't seem like it. If you have a character that can actually stun the villain on his own with his natural abilities, playing justice to complement that will make you win the game way more. All right, and then let's look at leadership, who definitely has a couple more options. I think the 2 best options in leadership are going to be Squirrel Girl and Hawkeye. 2 powerful allies. Hawkeye has 4 arrow counters, and you want to kind of, you know, cycle him. If you have that card, Rapid Response, you know, you always have 4 arrows, and that's really, really good, especially when you're going into stage 2 to stage 3. You place some drones, you don't care, pew pew. It's really good also against Escape from NORAD. So you just, you know, I just place drones, guys. No need to place threat. I'm going to pew pew them as soon as they come. And then Squirrel Girl is mostly like an enter the battlefield effect. Like, she comes into play, 1 damage to everything. So she's good on stage 1 and stage 2. If you're playing against Ultron stage 3, she kind of loses her efficiency. But don't not play her just for that. No, definitely want to have her in just for these abilities. And then obviously Hawkeye, you want to cycle through him. And then finally, in basics now, they didn't really have something in basics that was good until Quicksilver came out. I'm pretty sure it's Quicksilver, called Beat 'em Up. That is a 2-cost event, and man, does that card deal a lot of damage. It works. Deal 1 damage to the villain and each minion engage with you. I didn't think I would play 3 of these. I've been playing 3 of these when I play against Ultron. It is super efficient, especially if you're not playing a character like Captain America, if you're playing, let's say, Spider-Man, or you're playing... So guys, I really hope you appreciate this breakdown, and it's going to make you understand a little bit more of the complexities of Ultron, and really how to find ways to work against what he's trying to do, which is just swarm you with drones and just overwhelm you. So guys, this was my take. This is my opinion. Again, please leave your comments at the end. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like, or if anything that you would probably add to the video. Hey, it happens. I'm not perfect. But guys, this is the breakdown of how I think you guys will be able to now take down Ultron on a more consistent base if you guys follow these kind of little steps and know what to look out for. So again, this was Steve, and hoping that this video will help you beat the game. Next one, Wrecking Crew.